Dame, what's just the overall significance, man, in basketball and beyond? Is that we're back to 8,000 fans in the building, which is a sign of better things in the world.
I think it just shows progress, more than we care about it being good for us to have people in the building. I think it just shows, the progress of the world, that things are getting better and we're slowly coming out of this pandemic. So, that's a major positive.
Jason Quick with The Athletic.
Hey, Dame, when you have stretches like you did in the first half of game 2, can you sense that coming, or can you sense that something special is happening?
Just after it starts to happen, and I'm just like, I think when I start to feel that, I just go for it. I don't play it cool or try to back out of it and make it last. I go for it. So that's what I did.
And then you're always so conscious about playing the game the right way and finding the open person. So how do you balance that feeling and still playing the right way?
I think as well as I score the ball, I'm a really good playmaker, and I use my scoring to make plays. So, like, if I'm in a stretch like that, if I see a crack or opportunity for me to get a shot, I'm going to take it. But if the defense is overreacting or, the help is coming early or coming aggressive, then I'm still going to make the right play. I think when you want to extend a hot streak and you want it to keep rolling, you got to, keep the defense honest, and keep them off balance. And even when I hit a couple in a row, if a guy pulls over early, I'm still going to swing it. If the bigs step up and aggressive, I'm going to give it up. And, that way things just keep rolling. But, you got to be super aggressive, but not force it, and I think I balance that pretty well when I get rolling.
Casey Holdall, Trailblazers.com.
Damian, how did you feel like you guys did in terms of dealing with the contentious nature of Game 2, and what do you think the environment's going to be like in Game 3? And is that something that you guys had to be cognizant of? It's just that excitement and that emotion and kind of managing it.
I'm a big boxing fan, so like you get in the ring and you got all this animosity and anger and frustration and aggression, sometimes that can get you hurt. And, I think as a team, and I mentioned it to our team, we just got to be careful, I think, when you overly showing fight and overly showing aggression and being extra, that's like, to me, that's a sign of being a little nervous and a little bit uncomfortable. And, you're not at ease. And when you are, you react less to things like that. You don't shy away from it. If it comes to your doorstep, you step to it like a man, like we should. But you just have a better control about you when those situations come. So we just got to be careful with that and not be too emotional and get too caught up in those things. And that's usually who wins in the long run. So I think that has to be our mentality. We got to be aggressive and assertive. Just like anybody else would when it's, it turns into that type of series, but we got to be under control. We got to keep our composure and make sure that we manage that. But it's a playoff series, and that's where it is. Both teams want to advance. Both teams want to win games, and they're going to do everything in their power to try to make that happen.
And do you feel like the fact that you guys are going to be playing in front of your home fans and an actual crowd increases that chance, or is that something you guys have to at least kind of think about at all?
We feed off our crowd. We got a great crowd, and we got to use that energy and, make it have a positive impact on the game, not, being overly emotional. That can hurt you. You can't, like we can't come out here and make our first couple shots. They call a timeout and we going crazy. It's just got to be like, play the game, be excited, care, but don't get too emotional. Don't get too high. And if we control that, we'll be fine.
Aaron Finchurch with the Oregonian.
After watching Game 2, did you come away with any different impressions about how you guys played that maybe you didn't feel that night, good or bad?
When I walked off the court, I felt like we didn't play well defensively. And then when I watched the game a few times back on the plane, it just confirmed it. how I felt walking off the court was right. And it wasn't an effort thing or anything like that. We just, when I watched it, it jumped off the screen, you know, that we weren't doing some of the things that we have been doing over the last few weeks. And it was simple stuff. And I think we should be encouraged by that. You know, a lot of the things that we were hurt by, you know, obviously Jokic had a good game again, but we let, you know, Morris and Campazzo and Millsap and Green, you know, they all come in and they combine, you know, I think over 60 points or something like that, you know. So because we weren't doing the simple things, you know, our discipline wasn't there defensively, covering the nail, you know, being in tight. We were spread out. When they got downhill, they was right at the rim. You know, I think they was 22 for 24 at the rim or something like that. And it was just our basic principles, you know, we just weren't sharp enough in those areas, and they really hurt us, you know, because we didn't do those things. So once I saw that out, it was obvious to me what we could do to help ourselves in the next game. So we tighten those things up, and, you know, we should be in for another one tomorrow.
And also, most of the season, I went back and looked at the schedule. When you guys had bad losses, you only had maybe one day to try and figure it out. You're traveling maybe. How much of a luxury was it to have 2 days off? You know, I was pulling back that night, have 2 days to like work on things for the next game.
It was huge. I mean, we won the first game, and it was 1 day in between the first game and the second game. And even then, we still went to the gym and talked about things, you know, but having a day off to, you know, step away from it and rest our bodies and our minds, and then come back the next day and be able to just lock in and address things on film. You know, you're less emotional, you're more open-minded and more clear to like see things as they are, and, you know, so you can move forward better. And I thought that's the kind of day that we had today. Everybody was sharp. It was a lot of dialogue about, you know, what people saw and the understanding that they had, and, you know, how we can be better about these things that we had slippage in. And it was just a good day, you know, a good sharp day, and you know, a good way to prepare ourselves going into a game 3.
Dwight James, NBC Sports Northwest.
Dame, listening to their quotes after the game Monday night, they acted as if they think they found something special with Aaron Gordon defending you. I'm just curious about your reaction to that.
We'll see.
Going back to Jason Quick with the Athletics.
Hey, Dame, going back to the chippiness, what do you think that's rooted in? Is it simply just the higher stakes of the playoffs, or is there something deeper there?
I think the higher stakes of the playoffs, and, you know, we beat them in the first game when they're home floor. And, you know, Michael Malone is a tough coach. You know, I'm sure he challenged them, and they talked about how they need to be more physical and more aggressive and have some fight. And they played like that was the message. You know, I don't think it's really nothing that deep, you know, other than they trying to win. You know, they lost a game 1 at home. They needed to win a game 2. And, you know, that was just the mentality they came into the game with. I don't think it's any
no carryover from 2019.
I mean, if they still worried about 2019, I don't know what to say. I mean, we didn't win a championship, and neither did they. So, I mean, here's what it is, man.
Yeah.
Orlando Sanchez, KGW TV.
Dame, Casey touched on this a little bit with his question, but can you describe the playoff atmosphere in Portland, and just knowing, you know, 8,000 fans, this is the biggest home crowd you guys have had in a very long time?
I mean, just having no fans, you know, going from the bubble with no fans and then coming back into this season with no fans was an adjustment, you know, to just be in an empty arena for so long. And then even when we had 1,900 people, it was like a noticeable difference having 1,900 people. So just knowing that we're going to have, you know, 6,000, 7,000 more people in the building, you know, it's going to be energy. Especially, I think Denver had that same amount of people, and it felt like pretty much a normal game. And we know that our crowd is loud. You know, our crowd has pride. You know, they really care, and they're gonna come ready. You know, they're excited. It's the playoffs, and there's gonna be a lot of energy in the building. And, you know, I know it's gonna play in our favor.
Going back to Dwight James with NBC Sports Northwest.
Curious what you think about this game. The crowd and the presence and the noise of the crowd. Does it affect the visiting team, the home team, or the referees the most?
I think I would say it impacts the home team more than anything, because everything that you do feels like it's a pick me up. It feels like, all right, we're moving in the right direction. And I think it does the opposite for the visiting team. Every time the other team makes a shot, it feels worse than it is. Every time you have to call a timeout when they make a run, that walk to the bench feels worse than it is. So I also think, when things are going well for the home team, the visiting team feels like they have to respond, and I think that puts you in a position where, like, you got to have great decision making. If you make a few bad decisions to try to respond to what the crowd is making you think or feel, it could make it worse, or, you just might make a bold decision and shift the crowd. So I would say it affects the visiting team more than anything. But I also think referees are swayed by the crowd as well, like subconsciously.
Jason Quick with the Athletic.
Dame, what's your impression of your guys' shot distribution? In both games, you and CJ have combined to basically take half your guys' shots. Is that ideal for you guys, you think?
I mean, I don't think it's something we focus on. We're not looking at it like, all right, me and CJ gonna shoot and everybody else just figure it out. Like, that's what we do. We score the ball. And at this point in the season, the best players got to go for it. You got to, if we win, we got to be a major part in why we win. And if we lose, everybody's going to be like, that's who everybody's going to point the finger at. And that doesn't mean shoot every ball or go out there and, try to do everything on our own. But I'm saying the way our style is and what our job is for our team, sometimes it may look like that. And that's just how it's looked in the first two games.
Yeah, I'm not criticizing it. I'm just curious.
No, I know. I'm just saying that's what I think, of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Last question is coming from James Hill with BNC Sports.
Hey, Dame. So far, basically, as this series moves forward, it'll be the best 3 out of 5. So far, can you talk about what you see out there? I mean, you go out there and you blitz them in game 1, then they hold serve, they win game 2 at home. Now it's shifted to PO, but just give us your impressions on this series so far, sir.
I thought, going into a series, especially when you start on the road, the priority is to win one of the two. You want to steal one on the road and take home court advantage. And if you get the first one, you want to get greedy and get the second one, which my first time in the playoffs at Houston, we got both on the road. And, we like, all right, we got 2, let's try to sweep them, and then we lose game 3 at home. So I think 2 things. We did our job. We got 1 on the road. We didn't get game 2. The series changed every game. After one game, everybody's going to be saying we the greatest team in the world. And after the second game, everybody going to be saying they figured it out and they the best team in the world. And that's how the series goes. So you can't get too high and too low. But what we got to understand is that we did our job. We split out of the first 2 games. We got 1 on the road, and now we got 2 games at home. And they're thinking the same thing. So we just got to be a mature, responsible team and take care of our home court. We can't think that just because we coming home and we got our fans and we got a crowd that means we're going to win. They're going to come in here like we got to get 1 on their court, and they believe that they can do that. And, our job is to, hold down the home court. And starting tomorrow, we just got to get that one. And once we get that one, and then it's the same thing the next game, because they still going to have an opportunity to get 1. And we don't want to allow that to happen. So one game at a time, we got to not take it for granted that, it's a great opportunity for us. So that starts tomorrow.